The former lead singer of the Newsboys is responding to allegations of sexual and Michael Tait released a confession online. He admitted in it to both and alcohol while also confessing to touching other men in unwanted ways.
Michael Tait, once known as the powerful voice behind Newsboys and one of Christian music's most recognizable figures, spent decades inspiring millions through his faith and music. Admired for his talent and uplifting message, he built a respected legacy. But growing controversy and public scrutiny have raised difficult questions about his reputation. How did one of Christian music's most respected figures reach this point? This is the story. Road to a Christian music legend. Michael Tait was born on May 18, 1966, in Washington, D.C., into a family where faith shaped everyday life. His father, Tate, served as a pastor, and Michael was raised alongside 8 siblings in a home where Christian values were taken seriously. Music was also a major part of his upbringing. One of his sisters, Linda Randall, later became a well-known gospel singer, proving that musical talent ran deep within the family. From a young age, Michael showed a passion for singing, never imagining that it would eventually make him one of the biggest names in contemporary Christian music. A major turning point came during the mid-1980s, when Michael formed a friendship with Toby McKeeh's, better known today as Toby Mac. Their shared love for music led them to Liberty University, where they met Kevin Max. In 1987, the 3 young musicians joined forces to create DC Talk, a group that completely reshaped Christian music. Their fresh blend of rap, rock, and pop, combined with bold messages about faith, attracted a generation of listeners who had never heard Christian music presented in such an exciting way. Success followed almost immediately. Albums like New Thang, Free at Last, Jesus Freak, and Supernatural sold millions of copies, earned Grammy Awards, and became milestones in Christian music history. The 1995 album Jesus Freak became especially iconic, with songs that crossed into mainstream awareness and inspired countless young believers around the world. To millions of fans, Michael Tait was much more than a talented singer. He represented faith, integrity, and spiritual conviction. Parents trusted his music, churches embraced his message, and young Christians looked up to him as someone worth following. For nearly 4 decades, he built a reputation that seemed almost untouchable. Michael Tait's background shaped his career and helped him create some of the most influential projects in Christian music history alongside his colleagues. But could he still perform at the highest level if he ventured into the music world on his own? Could he achieve the same level of success without collaborating with his bandmates? Let's find out. The rise of Newsboys. After DC Talk announced its hiatus in 2000, many fans wondered whether Michael Tait's remarkable journey in Christian music had reached its peak. Instead, it marked the beginning of an entirely new chapter. Tait launched a solo career, continued recording music, and remained a respected figure within the industry. Then, in 2009, he accepted one of the biggest opportunities of his career by becoming the lead singer of the legendary Christian rock band Newsboys. Stepping into such an important role was no easy task, but Tait quickly proved he belonged at the front of one of Christian music's most successful bands. For 16 years, Michael Tait became the unmistakable face and voice of Newsboys. The band released chart-topping albums, performed before packed crowds across the United States and around the world, and continued inspiring millions of Christian listeners. His energetic stage presence, powerful vocals, and ability to connect with audiences made him a favorite among longtime fans while also attracting a younger generation. To many people, Tait seemed to embody the values Newsboys had always promoted: strong faith, integrity, hope, and commitment to God. His influence also stretched far beyond concerts and recording studios. Tait became increasingly active in conservative evangelical circles, speaking at Christian events and publicly supporting causes that reflected his beliefs. Newsboys' hit song God's Not Dead became much more than a successful worship anthem. It evolved into a cultural rallying cry for many Christians and gained worldwide attention through the popular God's Not Dead film series, making Tait a recognizable figure even outside the Christian music community. By this stage, Michael Tait had spent nearly 4 decades building an extraordinary reputation. He had sold lots of albums, earned multiple Grammy Awards, and inspired countless people through his music and public witness. his legacy appeared firmly established. Michael Tate built a respected career as a solo artist and earned numerous awards along the way. But at what cost did he achieve such remarkable success? Were some people left to bear the consequences of his rise to fame? If so, how deeply were their lives affected by the man so many admired? Let's uncover the shocking details. The explosive allegations that shocked everyone. In June 2025, Michael Tate's long-standing reputation was shaken by a series of investigative reports that sent shockwaves through the Christian music world. The Roy's Report published the first major investigation, presenting allegations from several men who accused the Grammy-winning singer of inappropriate behavior, misconduct, and long-term struggles involving substance abuse and alcohol. The claims quickly spread across Christian media and beyond, leaving many fans stunned. According to the reports, several of the men alleged that Tate used his influence, celebrity status, and trusted reputation to build close relationships with young aspiring musicians before allegedly crossing personal boundaries. Some claimed they were introduced to alcohol or illegal substances during private gatherings, while others accused him of unwanted touching or making unwanted advances. The allegations covered incidents that reportedly stretched back many years, creating the impression that these were not isolated claims. What made the accusations especially heartbreaking was who the accusers said they once were. Many described themselves as lifelong fans who had grown up listening to DC Talk and Newsboys. They saw Michael Tate as more than just a performer. To them, he represented Christian values, moral leadership, and spiritual encouragement. Meeting someone they had admired for years was once a dream come true, but several said that excitement eventually turned into disappointment, confusion, and emotional pain. As more information surfaced, another troubling claim began attracting attention. Numerous people within the Christian music industry reportedly described the allegations as one of the biggest open secrets in contemporary Christian music. That statement immediately sparked difficult questions. If rumors had been circulating for years, how much did others actually know? And if people were aware, why had nothing been done sooner? Almost overnight, the conversation shifted beyond Michael Tate himself. The scandal became a wider discussion about accountability, influence, and whether respected public figures can sometimes avoid scrutiny simply because of the trust and admiration they have earned over many years. By mid-2025, a series of allegations emerged as multiple men accused Michael Tate of inappropriate behavior, misconduct, and substance-related actions. But how would Tate respond to these serious accusations? Would he deny them outright? Or would he make the surprising decision to admit that much of what he was accused of was true? Let's find out. Michael Tate's confession. Only days after the allegations became public, Michael Tate broke his silence with a lengthy and deeply personal statement on Instagram. Instead of completely denying the accusations, the former Newsboys frontman made a confession that surprised many of his supporters. He admitted that recent reports about his behavior were largely true and acknowledged that he had struggled with substance addiction, excessive alcohol use, and inappropriate behavior toward men over 2 decades. Perhaps the most shocking part of his statement was his admission that he had been living what he described as 2 distinctly different lives. According to Tate, the person fans saw standing on stage, singing about faith, hope, and God, was very different from the person he had become in private. He confessed that he had hidden the truth not only from millions of fans but also from his own family, close friends, and even the bandmates who had toured beside him for years. Tate accepted responsibility for his actions, calling them sinful and expressing deep sorrow for the pain he believed he had caused. He apologized to those affected and said his departure from Newsboys in January 2025 was because he knew he needed help. Tate also revealed he spent 6 weeks at a treatment center in Utah, where he addressed his addictions and personal struggles while beginning his path toward recovery. His confession immediately divided opinion. Some people saw it as an honest first step toward accepting responsibility, while others believed the seriousness of the allegations demanded much greater accountability. For countless longtime fans, however, The statement created an even deeper emotional struggle. They found themselves asking how someone who had spent decades preaching faith through music could have hidden such a painful double life for so many years. Beyond Michael Tate's admission regarding the allegations against him, did those who accused him of misconduct remain anonymous? Or were some willing to reveal their identities? If they did, how disturbing were the accounts they shared about their experiences with him? Let's uncover the painful details. The victims' stories. Beyond the headlines, public statements, and growing controversy were the deeply personal stories of men who said their lives were permanently changed after meeting Michael Tate. Many explained that they were not strangers looking for attention. They were young musicians, devoted Christian fans, or aspiring artists who had admired Tate for years and viewed him as one of the most respected figures in contemporary Christian music. Meeting someone they had looked up to felt like a dream coming true, but several claimed that dream eventually turned into something they never expected. One of the men, identified as Gabriel, said he first met Tate while he was still a teenager. As a lifelong fan of DC Talk, he was excited that his musical hero wanted to spend time with him and even discussed possible opportunities in Christian music. However, Gabriel later alleged that those meetings took a troubling turn, leaving him feeling deeply betrayed by someone he had once trusted and admired. Another accuser, Sean Davis, said he first met Tate at 16 years old. According to his account, he looked up to Tate as both a successful musician and a strong Christian example. Davis later claimed that Tate introduced him to alcohol and illicit substances, and that the relationship eventually involved deeply disturbing experiences that affected him for years before he found the courage to speak publicly. Other men shared similar accounts, describing unwanted touching, uncomfortable advances, and situations where they felt pressured because of Tate's celebrity status and influence within Christian music. Several explained that they stayed silent for years because they feared no one would believe them or worried that speaking out could destroy their own hopes of building careers in the industry. As more voices came forward, the conversation expanded beyond Michael Tate alone. It became a wider discussion about trust, influence, and the responsibility that comes with fame. The allegations also raised difficult questions about how easily admiration can create vulnerability when young people place complete confidence in powerful public figures they deeply respect. The men who accused Michael Tate shared their experiences and spoke publicly about what happened. But what impact would these allegations have? How deeply would they affect his career, his reputation, and the legacy he spent decades building? Let's find out. The scandal that shook Newsboys. The allegations against Michael Tate did not stop with his personal reputation. Almost immediately, they sent shockwaves through Newsboys and the entire Christian music world, forcing longtime supporters to confront a situation few ever imagined. When Tate unexpectedly stepped away from Newsboys in January 2025, many fans were left confused. His sudden departure came with very little explanation, leading to widespread speculation. At the time, few realized that much bigger revelations were about to emerge. As investigative reports became public, the remaining members of Newsboys released a heartfelt statement expressing that they were shocked, heartbroken, and deeply saddened by everything they had learned. They explained that when Tate left the band, he admitted to them that he had been living what he described as a double life. However, they said they never imagined the situation involved allegations as serious as those that later surfaced. The band also made it clear that their thoughts were with everyone who had come forward, encouraging anyone affected by abuse or misconduct to seek help, and assuring the public that they did not support any form of or exploitation. The impact spread far beyond the band itself. Several Christian radio networks quickly removed Newsboys' songs from regular rotation, while some stations also stopped playing music connected to DC Talk. Fans who had spent years finding hope, encouragement, and comfort through Tate's music suddenly found themselves wrestling with painful questions about separating meaningful songs from the actions of the person who performed them. The controversy quickly grew beyond Michael Tate himself, forcing the Christian music industry to face difficult questions about accountability and trust. Many experts argued that respected leaders in close faith communities can make it harder for victims to speak out. What began as one man's scandal soon became a wake-up call, prompting serious reflection on leadership, influence, and responsibility across the entire industry. Michael Tate stepped away from Newsboys as allegations against him became public. But to what extent did the controversy affect the band's image even after his departure? And what steps did Newsboys take to manage the fallout and protect their reputation? Let's uncover the details. The explosive lawsuit that deepened the crisis. As the controversy surrounding Michael Tate continued to grow, the story took another unexpected turn. What had started as a series of allegations against one of Christian music's biggest stars soon expanded into a complicated legal fight involving the Newsboys organization, media outlets, and influential figures within the Christian entertainment industry. Instead of bringing clear answers, the next chapter raised even more questions. In 2026, Wes Campbell, a co-founder and longtime manager connected to Newsboys, filed a massive federal lawsuit accusing several organizations and individuals of defamation and antitrust violations. The lengthy complaint argued that certain reports about the band and its members were false, misleading, or unfairly presented. Campbell also claimed that powerful business interests within the Christian music industry had worked together to damage both Newsboys and the businesses connected to the band. One of the lawsuit's main arguments focused on reporting surrounding allegations tied to a 2014 incident involving Michael Tate and another member of the Newsboys organization. According to the legal filing, those claims had been taken out of context and were being used as part of a much larger business dispute rather than simply an effort to expose wrongdoing. The complaint suggested that commercial competition and financial interests may have played a significant role behind the scenes. The journalists and organizations responsible for publishing the investigations strongly rejected those accusations. They publicly stood by their reporting, insisting that their investigations were carefully researched, supported by multiple sources, and accurately presented. As both sides defended their positions, the public was left trying to make sense of two very different versions of the same story. By then, the controversy had grown into far more than allegations against one musician. It had become a major clash involving lawsuits, investigative reporting, business interests, public trust, and accountability. As legal battles continued and debates intensified, it became clear that the lasting impact of Michael Tate's scandal was far from over. Beyond the damage control efforts by the Newsboys following the controversy surrounding Michael Tate, what lies ahead for him after publicly admitting that much of what he was accused of was true? Could he ever regain the respect of his supporters if his repentance is sincere? Or has the damage to his legacy become permanent? Let's find out. The lasting legacy. For nearly 4 decades, Michael Tate stood as one of the most recognizable and influential voices in contemporary Christian music. From helping launch DC Talk into worldwide success, to spending more than 15 years as the lead singer of Newsboys, he inspired millions through songs centered on hope, faith, and devotion. To countless fans, he was more than an award-winning performer. He represented the values he sang about, becoming a trusted role model whose music shaped the spiritual lives of an entire generation. That image, however, has been dramatically transformed. The wave of allegations, followed by Tate's own public admission that many of the reports were largely true, forced supporters to face a painful reality. For many who had admired him for years, the greatest shock was not simply the accusations themselves, but the contrast between the respected public figure they believed they knew and the private life he later acknowledged. The controversy also reached far beyond one individual. It sparked difficult conversations throughout churches, Christian ministries, and the music industry about accountability, transparency, and the responsibility that comes with influence. Many people began asking whether warning signs had been overlooked, whether victims felt safe enough to speak, and what changes might be needed to better protect vulnerable people in the future. Since stepping away from Newsboys, Tate has said his focus is no longer on performing, but on repentance, recovery, and personal healing. He has described spending time in treatment, remaining sober, and continuing that journey away from public attention. Whether that path will eventually rebuild trust remains a question only time can answer. What is certain is that Michael Tate's story will no longer be remembered only for hit songs, Grammy Awards, or sold-out concerts. It has become a cautionary story about fame, influence, hidden struggles, and the consequences that can follow when private actions collide with a carefully built public image. For many fans, the music may remain, but the legacy behind it has been permanently changed, leaving a lasting impact on both Christian music and the people who once looked to him for inspiration. So, what do you think about the allegations against Michael Tate? Could he ever rebuild his image? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.